This is the Caroma Peak 1,200-watt electric scooter. It turns my normal cross-town trips into smooth, quick rides that feel controlled and effortless. I have been using it as my everyday scooter for errands and short commutes. It fits the sweet spot for an adult rider who wants real power for city streets and neighborhood paths, without stepping into a big off-road machine. I care most about stability, predictable control, and a ride that does not beat me up. That is exactly why this one has stayed by my door. The design choices matter in daily use. The 14-inch air-filled tires are the first thing I noticed once I got rolling. They are big for a scooter, and they change the ride feel in a good way. Cracked asphalt, driveway lips, and the little potholes that usually make small scooters chatter all get softened. There is no dedicated suspension on this model, but the tire volume does a lot of the work. The deck is wide enough for a natural stance, with room to shift my feet on longer rides. The stem feels solid, and the folding mechanism locks with a confidence that becomes second nature after a few trips. The frame has a sturdy, no-nonsense build. It is not a featherweight. Carrying it up a full flight of stairs takes some effort, and I plan my route accordingly. On the ground, though, the weight translates into stability. Setting it up was straightforward once I ignored the manual and used a bit of common sense. The box arrived well padded, and everything was secure, but there were heavy staples around the edges. I earned a tiny cut before I learned to slow down and use gloves, so watch your fingers. All the basic tools were in the box, and the parts lined up the way they should. I watched a short setup video to confirm the order of bolts, and the whole job took me maybe 20 minutes. The battery arrived about half charged, which was perfect for a first shakedown ride around the block. Out on the street, the throttle response feels smooth and predictable. The 1,200-watt motor has real push off the line, but it never jerks. I can roll into speed and hold it exactly where I want. When I ease off the throttle, the scooter keeps coasting at that pace for a bit before it gradually slows. That coasting behavior makes the ride feel natural, and it stretches the battery because I am not constantly pulsing the motor. The handlebars have a comfortable width, and the grips have enough texture that I feel secure even when the road gets bumpy. The display is simple and readable in daylight. I can glance down and see speed and remaining battery without breaking my focus on the road. The brake levers have a reassuring pull, and the kickstand tucks out of the way cleanly. The core performance is where I felt the difference compared with loaner or rental scooters I have used. Acceleration is strong and steady, so merging into a bike lane or crossing a wide intersection feels calm rather than rushed. On a long flat stretch, I saw speeds in the low 20s miles per hour and the scooter stayed planted. I never felt the front get light or wobbly. The motor is quiet, more of a soft whir than a whine, and at neighborhood speeds I mostly heard tire noise. Braking is handled by disc brakes, and the stopping power is there when you need it. Out of the box, the brakes were a little loud, especially on the first few hard stops. After a few rides and a small adjustment to center the calipers, the squeal settled down to a short chirp under heavy braking. That is a trade-off I accept because the confidence in a true emergency stop matters more than a silent lever pull. Real-life testing for me is simple. I ride it where I actually go. My standard loop is a mix of residential streets, a couple of short hills, and a stretch of choppy pavement near a park. I weigh around 180 pounds with a small backpack. On those hills, the Caroma Peak slows a little but keeps climbing with authority. I never had to kick to help it along. The big tires roll through broken pavement with a muted thud rather than a jolt. I set my tire pressure to around 35 pounds per square inch, and that felt like the best balance between comfort and steering precision. I did a pair of back-to-back rides that added up to roughly 15 miles on a cool morning, and I finished with battery to spare. On a warmer day with more stop-and-go riding, I noticed the battery gauge dip faster, which is normal for this kind of scooter. I charge it in the evening, and it is ready when I head out the next morning. A specific use case that really sold me on this scooter is my weekend routine. I have a coffee spot a few miles away, and the route includes a slight climb, a long flat stretch, and some patchy pavement. I set off from my driveway, ease up to a comfortable pace, and settle into a relaxed stance. When I reach the climb, I lean forward a bit, keep the throttle steady, and the Caroma peak just pulls. On the flats, I roll off the throttle and let it coast, then nudge it up again when I need to pass someone or set up for a turn. The tires soak up the rough patches outside the park, and I do not arrive with numb feet. On the way back, there is a gentle downhill where I usually ride near top speed. The scooter stays straight and calm, and the brakes bring me down to neighborhood pace without drama before the final turn. That simple trip is where I appreciate the balance this scooter strikes. There are a few details that make the experience smarter without shouting about it. The throttle mapping is forgiving, so small finger movements produce small speed changes. That sounds basic, but it makes shared path riding less stressful because I can match the pace of foot traffic precisely. The coasting behavior I mentioned earlier means I am not constantly on and off the throttle, which keeps my hands relaxed on longer rides. The folding latch is quick to work with, and it stays locked tight while riding. The deck grip has a texture that cleans up easily with a damp cloth after a dusty ride. Little things like that add up when you actually use a scooter every day. There are also a few things I would change. The manual could be clearer, especially for someone setting up a scooter for the first time. The disc brakes may squeal until they bed in, and that may bother people in a quiet neighborhood. There is no dedicated suspension, so while the big tires help a lot, you still feel sharp edges at higher speeds. The scooter is not light. If you need to carry it up multiple flights of stairs every day, that weight will get old. These are not deal breakers for me, but they are worth knowing before you buy. After a few weeks of riding, my impression is steady. The Caroma Peak 1,200-watt electric scooter is built for riders who want a stable platform, real acceleration, and the confidence to handle mixed city surfaces. It is great for daily commuting, campus runs, or weekend rides to the market or the park. If you need the lightest scooter to carry long distances, or if you want a plush suspended ride over gravel and ruts, this is probably not the right fit. If you value big tire stability, quiet power, and a simple setup that just works, it is easy to recommend. If this video helped, please subscribe to the channel and tell me what you want to see next in the comments. Thank you for watching.